This is Russ. Yeah, I'm back in the car again. What's the weather? What's the weather?
It's currently windy and 57 degrees. Expect cloudy skies starting tonight. Today's high will be 61 and the low will be 43.
57 degrees right now. 9:26 a.m. in the morning on a Wednesday. Yep. It did rain. It rained overnight. So streets are a little bit wet. Yeah, maybe it'll dry up a little bit. Anyway, I've finished 2 of the 3 reviews of the new bikes that had come in. I should finish the 3rd one today. Yep, so I wonder if I'll have enough time. Maybe I'll be able to get out and ride a little bit. We'll see. It's going to be pretty windy. They have some type of advisory going on about possible fires. I don't know why. They say, well, it's dry and hot, but it rained. Why is that advisory still there? The wind is pretty high, though. I could see it blowing a flag off to the side there. Yeah, well, we had a good run of a couple of days of decent weather. Gave me a chance to actually do the reviews. I'm really happy with that because we have other bikes coming in eventually. Within the month, I would tend to think. At least 2, maybe 3. Yeah, I think 3. So, yeah, had to get these done. So I'm glad. Now, this morning, I was looking at YouTube as I typically do, and I was watching a video about how the Rally bike company in the UK had fallen. Do you guys have one of those bikes? I used to call it Raleigh, but at least the video called it Rally. Tell me what you call it. Yeah, Raleigh. Yeah, they were the largest bike company around. Made in the UK. But like XWing, they didn't change with the times, and then down they went. Yeah, they were huge. Yeah, I was looking at photos of the former factory and everything. I remember when I was younger and looking at bikes, I remember the brand. Obviously, no way we were going to get one. I told you guys, I got my bike from the Chicago police auction. It was a Huffy. It was a Huffy banana seat bike. Yeah, 5-speed, I believe. Yeah, it was kind of similar to the XWing crate, but didn't have the vibe of the XWing. Huffy's version, okay? Hey, it was better than nothing, and that's what I had. It was a red one. I think it was red with a white banana seat. Yeah, I put a sissy bar on there. Remember the sissy bar? Big tall thing. Doesn't do anything. It was just a design thing. Yeah, everyone wanted to have bikes that looked like choppers back then. Remember? Yep. Easy Rider. Yeah, I never rode a motorcycle. Yeah, I never did. I remember when I was working in the police department, one of the police departments was at Chula Vista PD, actually in California. And I had to fingerprint I think it's Kawasaki that makes it, right? The Ninja. Remember those things? They used to call them the crotch rockets. Those things are fast, man. Yeah, anyways, I think it was a stolen vehicle and it was recovered and they wanted to get fingerprints off of it. So my supervisor said, Russ, take the Ninja, move it to the back of the police parking lot, fingerprint that thing. Okay. So I had to push this thing. Man, that thing is heavy. I didn't realize how heavy a motorcycle is until I pushed that thing. Now, if you had a Harley, I'm sure that would have been even heavier. I'm just guessing. I don't know. If you've ridden a motorcycle before, put a comment. Let me know if you were a motorcycle rider. No, I never did. No, I was always a bike guy. I was always a bike guy or a car guy. That's all I did. Yeah. But I'm getting a kick just looking at the history of some of these factories that made bicycles. And I remember being a kid and looking through the Schwinn catalog. To me, that was the bike. It was the Schwinn, right? I always wanted at least a varsity, but I really wanted a Continental. And I think at that time, this is in the 70s, the Continental, I believe, had center pole brakes. Yeah, and that was the hot thing back then. Everyone else had side pole brakes until you moved up to at least a Continental. So I always wanted one of those, but of course I could never afford one. I didn't have any money. My dad bought me everything as a kid. So I could just sit there and look at the catalogs and dream. But as I got older, and finished my time in California, and we moved back from California after being married and everything and working in law enforcement. When we came back, I decided to buy bicycles again because I had sold off the two bikes that I had in California, one for me and one for Mrs. Wright. When we moved out there, I didn't bring the bike I had when I was growing up. I bought new bikes out in California, but they were, I don't know, $125 cheapy bikes that just kind of got us through because we really only wanted to ride around Lake Miramar at that time. If you're a San Diego person, you'll know. And I said, yeah, well, let's just buy something cheap because I just wanted to ride around. It was better than my old bike, but I think they were like $125 or $150, something like that each. And then when we moved, the guys who helped load our truck, because I drove our truck back from San Diego back to Chicago area, we didn't have any more space left in the truck. We filled that thing with so much stuff. So I said to the guys who were loading it, I says, do you guys want any bikes? And I sold it to them for $10 each. I just had to get rid of it. Otherwise, I was going to just throw it out. I couldn't fit it in the truck anymore. So they bought the bikes. They were really happy to get it. And then when we got back, I says, I want another bike. Mrs. Wright was saying, well, why didn't you take the bikes that we had? And he said, we couldn't fit it. So I said, let's get some bikes. So I bought myself a Giant. Yeah. Now, at that time, Giant was getting a name for itself, of course, because Giant is the big company in Taiwan, right? They made frames for other people and bikes for other people. But they had their own brand, so I bought the Giant. Mrs. Wright bought a Trek. Yeah. She still has the Trek in our basement. I donated my Giant mountain bike to a family in need at our church. They're not from our church, but our church said they knew a family in need that needed transportation. So Mrs. Wright says, you're never going to ride that again since you have so many e-bikes. I says, that's true. So I donated the bike. And I kept that bike for so long. I mean, I had it. I didn't really ride it all that much until my knees started having issues. And then I stopped riding my bike because my knees were hurt whenever I ride. Yeah. So it hung up in my garage for years. And every day, I'd pull my car in, I'd see it hanging in the garage. I just flipped it over and hung by the two wheels up on the rafters of the garage, and it just hung there. And I would stare at it all the time. Every now and then, I would take it down, clean off all the dust that had gotten on it from being in the garage and everything, and kept saying, one day, I'm going to ride this bike. I only got to ride the bike once after my knee replacement, and I just went around the block and I just said, yeah, I'm never riding this thing again. That's when I knew that bike was basically history for me, because after riding the e-bike, there was no going back. There was absolutely no going back. I says, wow, it's so slow. Man, my knees are going to hurt. I just didn't want to do it. Yeah, that's when I bought that Rad Rover 5, right? So yeah, so now I look back at my time with bicycles and I said, I really do have quite a history with bikes, because my whole life I've always wanted a good bike and I never had one. And even being older, I was in my 30s and 40s and I still wanted a decent bike, right? So by the time I was in my 50s, I couldn't do it. I knew I wouldn't be able to do it. So yeah, it's interesting how life takes you around, and I finally get all of these bikes, and they're good bikes, and I've had some very good bikes in the house, and yeah, I've moved them along. I have to. I have no option. I really feel bad when the bikes leave. I've said this before, even if it's a basic bike, I kind of feel like, oh, sorry I sold that, but reality, you have to. You have no option. You can, I mean, even right now, it's the inventory is starting to build again, and I can't do that. Our house is just filled with bicycles at this point. Some of the other guys are, getting storage lockers, and who's it? Scott Hardesty. He got himself, I think it's like a warehouse. If you check him out, so he's going to do videos in there. And then he's going to be storing his bikes in there too. That costs money. More power to him. I just can't. Russ is cheap. I told you guys. I can't seem to do that. So I just keep it in the house, and it's just too much. So, but anyway, going through and seeing these old bikes and these videos really brings me back. It really does. I think back about when I was younger, and my fascination with bikes for so long. A few people have said over the years, have said, Russ, you really are a bike guy. I go, yeah, I am. But I was never the kind of bike guy that, the guys that are in spandex that they've been riding for, cross country and all that kind of stuff. I was not that kind of guy. I was just your average guy that really liked to be on his bike. Yeah. And even today, I'm the same way. I can't compete with what the younger guys can do, and I have no intention to do that in terms of riding the distances some of these guys do. But for a guy who's 67 years old and still riding his bike, and helping to promote the bike industry simply by doing these reviews, yeah, I'm kind of glad. I'm able to do that. Here you are, a retired guy. You're not doing any other stuff. And still being able to do something that you enjoyed all your life. Yeah. On another note, okay, the thing that ruined my knees was martial arts. I told you guys that, right? Because a lot of kicking in Taekwondo. I still watch a lot of the martial arts stuff. Yeah, it's kind of funny that, even though the thing that kind of messed you up, you still have interest in watching it. And I'll watch, these guys are doing their forms, right? Patterns, they used to call them katas, if you're into the Japanese martial arts. And then I also watch the sparring that they do, and I don't really watch too much of things like mixed martial arts. If it's on, I watch it, but it's not a real big thing for me. But it's interesting that I still have interest in stuff like that. It's kind of weird. I guess some stuff just doesn't go away. even though it's the thing that hurt you, you still watch that stuff. But the whole thing with the bicycles, yeah, it is kind of funny that all these years you don't have stuff like that, and then you end up being a YouTuber talking about e-bikes. It's crazy. All right, trying to get around this guy here. Somebody took my spot. I have to take another spot. All right, that's all I got for you guys for today. Appreciate you guys watching and staying along with me. Let me know in the comments today, which bikes did you own, bikes did you own when you were younger? And which bikes did you lust after? What did you really want that you never got? Or maybe you got it. Yeah, if you were lucky and one of the lucky guys that actually got the bike that they always wanted, yeah, let us know. How did you get that bike? What did it cost you back in the day? What did it cost you back in the day? How did you get it? Yeah, let me know. And which bikes were you really most interested in getting? You just couldn't get it. Yeah, I used to watch. Well, I didn't watch, but I would take a look at all of the specifications for some of those racing bikes that were out there. I go, wow, these things are so light. I mean, some of those things, what were they, like 22 pounds or something? Is there something even less? They're so light in weight. And now I look at our e-bikes, they're so heavy. They are so heavy. But I got one that's light. I do. You're going to be surprised. Yeah. It's one of the bikes I just reviewed. So you're going to have to wait. It's under embargo. We got to wait until it's allowed for me to tell you about it. But I'm going to tell you one thing. It's pretty impressive for what it is. Yeah, I think you're going to like it. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys for today. Hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Answer my questions about your bikes of the past and let me know. Talk to you guys next time.